God fulfilled the promise that he made to Abraham when he was 100 years old, and he gave Abraham and Sarah a son. And Isaac wound up being, in God's estimation, Abraham's only son. You see that communicated in Genesis 22, verse number 2, where God tells him, "Take your son, your only son, Isaac." Anyway, so Isaac grows up and he eventually gets married, has a couple of children of his own. In fact, they were twins, they were boys. Esau and Jacob. Esau was the older twin by just a little bit, but there was always contention between the two. Now, back in those days, there was a tradition of having something called the birthright, and we do something similar today. A lot of the laws are written in such a way to where, the oldest son by the first marriage gets priority in certain legal matters if there's not a will that is present. So there's something called the birthright, and that gives the oldest son the right to a larger inheritance and more responsibilities and things like that. It was a place of nobility and it was something to be desired. So Esau comes in from the field one day from hunting, and apparently it's not a very successful venture because he comes in and he says, "I'm starving. I'm going to die if I don't get something to eat." So he goes to his brother who's just made some food and says, "Sell me some food. Sell me some of this pottage that you've made." And Jacob says, "Well, what will you give me? Will you give me your birthright?" Now, we could focus on Jacob's complete and utter lack of compassion here. Jacob was not in the right about the majority of the stuff here early on in his life, taking the birthright from Esau and then stealing the blessing later on, which we won't necessarily talk about in this series, but it's something worthy of talking about. Jacob was a swindler. He was looking for an opportunity to advance himself. We don't want to take any admirable qualities from him in this, but Esau was short sighted. He willingly sold and exchanged his birthright for a single meal. He was foolish in this. The book of Hebrews even uses this as an example that says that he despised his birthright. All right. So, in despising his birthright, Esau despised the inheritance that he was supposed to receive. And by doing that, he denied all of his children that would come later on, his generations that came after him, he denied them that inheritance as well. The scripture says that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Well, Esau denied his children that. And so in doing this, he was saying all of these future blessings, they don't mean anything to me. I just want to be fed here in the moment. And so many times we do this. We exchange a long-term blessing for short-term lust. And that is what sin does.